East Palestine, the whole disaster. I had an opportunity to go down there and meet with some locals. Had a guy there by the name of John, who's a local there, lives in and around that community for most of his life. Got a chance to hear, the pain. Got there even before the current Secretary of Transportation even got there. But I won't take you down that rabbit hole. It was an epic fail. I'm saying that, and some others do agree with me. But anyway, I digress. You and Representative Deluzio introduced a bill to deal with Norfolk and put the congressman up with me together, Skip, if you can, to deal with Norfolk and other rail companies when it comes to what the rules are. And so your bill, the Khanna Deluzio bill, rail safety, part 1, the legislation seeks to broaden the definition of what constitutes a high hazard flammable train. We know that President Trump did roll back some of the things that President Obama's administration had done, but even under President Obama's administration, this Ohio train would not have been covered. So glad to see it. High hazard flammable trains are not allowed to travel faster than 50 miles per hour. Let's go to the next part 2 of that. And the legislation would also expand the list of hazardous substances and require rail carriers to report to the National Response Center, state officials and local officials within 24 hours of when a train carrying toxic chemicals derails. You all did all of that. The legislation would also expand the list of hazardous substances and require rail carriers to report to the national, et cetera, et cetera. You all did that back in February when this happened. So talk to us a little bit, Congressman, and why that was important. And do you really believe that Norfolk is going to suffer any consequences at all?
Well, first of all, thank you, Senator Turner, for showing up. I think showing up is something that we needed to do. We needed to do it faster. I don't understand why we didn't do it. People saying, well, there are 1,000 of these train derailments every year. I said, how are we just accepting that as a fact? The first thing we should say is why. And the reason that they're happening is we haven't had the proper safety regulations because of the railroad lobby. We know what we need to do. We know we need to have the proper classification of hazardous materials, classify that appropriately. We need shorter trains. We can't have these long trains. We know we need more staff members on these trains. And that if we had these safety measures, you wouldn't have 1,000 derailments. And then you have to go to the communities like East Palestine, which have been hard hit by offshoring of jobs, hard hit by globalization, hard hit by neoliberalism, and they say no one cares about us. So it's about both signaling to them that we do care, they do matter, their lives have consequence, and that we're going to finally stand up to big corporate rail interests and stand up for the people.
Yeah, I agree, Congressman. And when I was there, it was really palpable. They do feel like nobody cares about them. And the fact that the administration took so long, it just further, gave them, backed up their feeling because it took so long for the administration to come, and they're still suffering. And listen, I'm not gonna let the governor of the state of Ohio off the hook. He told those residents they could drink the water even though fish were dying. There are other reports that the residents are still suffering with rashes and just all kinds of things that you could expect because of the type of chemicals that were emitted into the air and to the soil. And it's very problematic. So I wanna thank you and Representative Chris for introducing that legislation. And I hope that it is pushed and that it goes somewhere.